Code, Chapter 551. I hereby call the meeting of the Winnsboro City Council to order at 5:31 p.m. We would like to welcome our citizens, visitors, and guests. If you have not signed in, we ask that you do so at this time in the lobby at the back, the podium. We would also like you to silence all cell phones, and if you do need to take a call, please step outside to do so. If you would like to address the council, we ask that you fill out a speaker card and turn it in to Ms. Angie, the city secretary. Speaker cards are located at the podium in the lobby. We ask that you please do not speak from your seat. You may speak when called upon, and when you're called upon, approach the podium, speak into the microphone, state your name and address, and at that time you'll have 3 minutes. So at this time, we're going to move to public comments. I guess Chanagale Willis. Okay.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. I wasn't sure whether at what point you would have comments on any agenda item. Was the reason I wanted to speak at the beginning. In November 22nd of 2021, I was honored to give the memorial eulogy for President Kennedy at Dealey Plaza for the city of Dallas. And there's one quote that comes to mind that he was talking about through leadership at any level, we can have a more vital life for our own people. And he said, how to prevent the collapse of a farm economy and the decay of our cities, to give direction to our traditional and moral purpose, awakening every American to the dangers and opportunities that confront us. It's a noble and historic role that presidents and governors and city council and members take on to defend freedom at times of peril, and American people need to remain confident, courageous, and persevering. To that effect, the city ordinance also clearly states that the purpose of zoning ordinances is for promoting the health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the city. I have a copy of an open records request regarding the Sigma plant that we call, that has 2 known names. The bowling plant is Sigma Agriscience down in Bowling, Texas. The plant here, according to the Texas Secretary of State, is Texas Sigma Partners. There's confusion as to the appropriateness of the Open Meetings Act for how it's listed on the agenda. That's not my bailiwick at this time. My request is supported by the city secretary's records that there are no occupancy permits for anyone at that address and no building permits for anyone at that address. And should there even be occupancy permits, they are operating outside the bounds of their zoning ordinance, Chapter 14, Section 6, and Chapter 14, Section 19. I'm being brief out of respect for this board, and we'll let the city know I've worked hard at just collecting data and trying to be non-emotional, but I am impacted because citizens asked me to look into it, and I did expose myself to that. Today, a group of citizens met with attorneys representing the firm of Ted Lyons and Associates. Many of them have signed contracts for litigation against Texas Sigma Partners and any affiliated companies. At this time, none of that is directed to the city. I would like the city to let their processes continue to do what's right inside their own laws and enforce their laws and remediate this problem and abate it as soon as possible. Thank you for your time. Oh, and I am still under doctor's care, and those documents have been asked for by the state level of the TCQ. Johnny Wu is the enforcement officer, and I'm providing affidavits as well as other citizens for the medical aspect of this. It's not getting any better, and it's getting worse. Thank you for your attention to this matter very much.
Thank you. Do we have any other? Melissa Lauren. Did you want to do, wait to the agenda item or public comments?
Public comment.
Okay.
You've got an agenda item listed, you have to wait till we get to that agenda
Okay,
item.
I'm happy to do that then.
Oh, okay. All
I
right.
misunderstood.
Okay, so that's all.
Is it on the agenda? Because there was confusion about that.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
All right, I'm happy to wait.
Okay, and then Mr. Buck, yours is also for during the Sigma?
Yes, I would.
Okay, all right. Do we have anyone else during public comments? Okay. Then let's move on to 3.1, consider resolution number 2022.45, establishing the general election procedures of the day and so forth. So, has everyone had a chance to review resolution 2022-45? Any questions? Mr. Williams?
Madam Mayor, I make the motion that council approve resolution number 2022-45, ordering the general election and establishing protocols for that election.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Let's move on to 3.2. Consider resolution number 2022-46, ordering a general obligation bond election, making provisions for and conducting the election and resolving other matters. Did we all have a chance to review this as well?
Council, I'll just say that if you've got questions, we have Jacqueline Hale here from MPH Legal. She's our bond counsel, as well as Mr. Cunningham. Y'all are familiar with him. So if you've got questions, then feel free and we'll be able to respond.
Thank you.
I actually just have one question, and I don't, whichever.
Okay, come to the podium.
Can one of y'all just step up to the podium so that way? It's just so everybody can hear you, that's why.
That's all right.
I was just, okay, so if the bond thing passes tonight and it goes for election, at what time does the interest rate lock in?
Okay. The election's in May, then there's Jacqueline, you might want to respond to how long the canvassing and certification process takes after the election.
We would canvas,
Yeah, I'll let you, we'll share.
We just have social, so people can hear it that's not here present, so.
yes,
that's
we
why
would
asked.
canvas the election and the election returns as well. I believe it's 3 days after election results are received to 10 to 14 days, I believe. And we can provide that schedule, of course. And then we would, after the bonds have been approved, then we would begin the market process with Craig.
So after that time, like with 60 to 90
Days, yeah.
between the time that certification occurs and the time we would lock interest rates in.
Okay, all right, thank you. If anybody else have questions while they're up here? No?
Madam Mayor, I would just like to note to council that the figures on Exhibit B for all of the projects are incorrect as far as when you add the principal of debt obligations to the estimated interest and then combine those two. Those figures on every single project are incorrect. They have been corrected.
Yes, correct. We corrected
And
those
so
this
what we
morning.
have on our tablets are different, and the corrected figures will be
That's
posted
correct.
on the ballots.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Melissa, it was a great catch.
Any other questions for our guest? Thank y'all both for coming.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Madam Mayor, I make the motion that council approve resolution number 2022-46, ordering a general obligation bond election, making provisions for conducting the election, and resolving other matters related to such an election.
Second that motion.
All in, yes, ma'am.
There's an item on here that says public comments will be called for by the presiding officer before action is taken on these items. Number 3. Public comments will be called for.
Do you have any cards for that item?
Do I have any what?
I have one question. If you want to add number 3, the question just came to my mind.
Sure.
Last year, when you had a little family episode, you had me look into that $750,000 bond already approved for sewer infrastructure. Is there any attempts to issue those bonds so we can also include this? It's already been approved by the elector to work on the sewer.
They can only be used for sewer or water improvement.
Right. Is there any intent for the city to issue those bonds when we're calling for another bond election, but ones we've done from 1978 have never been used?
Well, we're not dealing with 1978, we're dealing with this. That bond and this bond are two separate items.
Okay.
So we have to look at those bonds as a separate item.
For another agenda. Got it. Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions, or? Okay, we had a first and we had a second. All in approval?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, the motion carries. Okay, so our next one is states Sigma Agriscience, but also it is known as the, Ms. Willis, can you tell me?
Texas Sigma Partners LLC.
Okay, so at this time, the Sigma Partners, we have been in contact with them. I have been out there so many times this week, it's, I think they're tired of seeing me, to be honest. Every time police were called or whatever, I went out there myself, got out of my car, and I walked around. I've been out there at 10 o'clock at night. I've been out there at 7 o'clock in the morning. I've been out there all the hours in between. Now, I have to admit, I have not been out there after 11. But all the other times, I did drive out there myself. I got out of my car and walked up to the opening of where you see the steam, whatever you want to call it, comes from. So, because I wanted to familiarize myself with what everyone over there is familiar with or taking into account. We were asked by the Sigma Partners to, they provided a letter that was sent to the TCEQ, which is the government entity that has taken over the complaints at this time. And this is the same letter that is also, or has also been sent to TCEQ in regards to some of their violations. And they asked us if we would just please read it so that everybody were aware. If anybody would like a copy of this letter, we can get it to you. So at this time, just because I don't have as nice a voice, I've asked Mr. Corning if he will use his broadcast voice, because I want everybody out also in the public to hear it and to hear it very well. And so I've asked Mr. Corning, that's kind of like his specialty, that if he would be so nice as to read the letter.
Let me just preface this in saying I get paid $150 an hour to do this. So here we go.
Not tonight, Corning.
Not tonight? So I'm going to give you the version. Thank you and good night. Let me read this to you. This is to Mr. Wu, and it says,
It's Mrs. Wu. Johnny Wu's a lady.
W-U.
Yes, it's Miss Wu.
He's just
They have
reading how
Mr.
it's-
Okay.
yeah.
Okay? It says, thank you for reaching out. Texas Sigma Partners, LLC, Texas Sigma, is currently in the process of excuse me, I can't see that. Let me get it a little larger here.
Evaluating.
There we go, now I can see it. Evaluating the process and potential control equipment to reduce any air emissions and odors emanating from the facility, and it operates in Winnsboro, Texas. Any new operation, it takes time to work out, and some of the kinks associated with the startup and production it has during, I can't move that, anyway. Thank you, let me get that back there again. Of its operation and ongoing adjustments of the procedures and, I'm sorry, I can't, and the results of the rotary kiln fires. Maybe you can read it better than I can't read that.
Well, here, I
small
can get
print.
Randy to read it.
Okay.
Randy, go ahead.
You can read it better than I. At least
I don't know,
smaller
you've
print.
got that broadcaster voice
Well, I
there
can't read that
uh,
small print, I'm sorry.
Anyway, Texas Sigma Partners LLC, Texas Sigma, is currently in the process of evaluating its processes and potential control equipment to reduce any air emissions and/or odors emanating from the facility it operates in Winnsboro, Texas. As with any new operation, it takes time to work out some of the kinks associated with startup and production. It was during startup operations and ongoing adjustments of the product mix that resulted in the rotary kiln fires. Texas Sigma has invested significant capital and resources to establish a safe and compliant operation to provide a beneficial use of poultry manure to avoid it becoming a waste. Throughout history, manure has been utilized as fertilizer, soil amendment, energy source, and even construction material. Manure contains many useful, recyclable components, including nutrients, organic matter, solids, energy, and fiber. With today's science and technology, manure can be used more efficiently and in more ways than ever. These techniques can protect water and air quality while reducing greenhouse gases. When properly managed, it can serve as a valuable renewable resource. This renewable resource is the basis for the Texas Sigma plant. The location of the plant was chosen because the feedstock that have existed for many years as a waste product in the imminent vicinity of the plant, to include a livestock auction, dairy farm, and chicken houses. The area is sparsely populated within a quarter-mile of the plant, and with most receptors being commercial or agricultural. Sphere 3 Environmental has been retained to assist Texas Sigma and is currently preparing a modification to its air permit to increase the operating times and account for additional control equipment to be installed to bring the facility in compliance with Texas Administrative Code 106.104, 106.261, and 106.262. Texas Sigma is committed to bringing the plant into compliance. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me, Gail.
So, I'm sorry if you have any questions regarding the letter. We were just asked to read the letter, just so you know.
Madam Mayor, I would just like to note that the letter is on our website.
Website it is, yes.
Under the agenda packet for tonight. I think
Is it brief?
Yes.
The law that was referenced, 106.262 and 106.261, I have read those laws. It's the permit by rule that the TCQ operates with under the federal government guidelines. And that rule states you get a permit based upon our inspection, and this is how you operate. If they operate outside that permit, that law just quoted forbids adding any air abatement equipment. They have to go through another process for another permit by rule. Thank you.
Okay.
And Ms. Wilson, I think that's what this law firm is doing,
Yes.
because it says they have been retained to assist Texas Sigma and is currently preparing a modification to its air permit.
Do you have a card? Okay, let me give these people first, if you don't mind, sir. Okay, so the Melissa Lawrence Sigma.
Melissa Laurent, 1530 State Highway 11, very close to the Sigma plant. I'm really not going to say a whole lot today. I said what I wanted to last time, but I've got something to show you.
That is not steam. That is smoke.
You're going to bring it down.
Look at it. Dear God, someone, please do something to help us.
Can you see it?
Just amongst it. And what day?
We
was
can't
it?
over here.
That was Monday,
Okay.
Monday I was out there.
I see.
Valentine's Day. This is on Valentine's Day,
I was out there that morning.
Thank you.
after I made the call to the cops.
Yes.
Yeah. That's not steam.
How do you know?
Because steam dissipates quickly, it's water vapor. You didn't know that. Smoke does not, and it will travel sideways across the ground. And that's what it's doing here. You can see in the video, is it still running, that All-Star Road was completely covered. It was over to in the sale barn yards, traveling towards my house, which is the next place it goes from there. The whole street was covered. It was up on Highway 11.
How long did that last?
I'd have to look back at the times, but I would guess that when it was billowing out like that, it was probably 10 to 15 minutes that time. There was another incident earlier that same morning, about 4 o'clock, that I also documented and called the police about, where it was across Highway 11.
I just have another quick question for you. After the 15 minutes, it dissipated and was gone?
No, it quit billowing out.
I
No,
see,
it's still
I
there.
see.
You're right, sorry.
I was listening what you said, and I just, yes.
So, the smoke is still there. It had stopped billowing out of that thing that's low to the ground.
I see.
But several times this week, I have also witnessed smoke coming out of that part next to it.
That's what I was going to ask you. I visited that plant. Now, yes, I do understand that one. I understand the other one. That's why I asked you that
Yeah.
question.
And another day, this has been an awful week over there, terrible week over there. It was also bellowing out the back side of that thing that looks like a carport to the side of it. There's a bunch of equipment in there.
Yes, ma'am.
It was bellowing out the back, going across and over Highway 11.
And what you're saying is that was just a horizontal line, I guess,
Right.
and not a vertical where the steam would rise.
Right. You
I
can
see.
watch the steam and it
Yes,
goes
ma'am.
up and disappears.
Yes, ma'am.
What goes sideways is not steam. And this was obviously, if you've seen this, gone over there and seen the steam, this is this brown, awful color. You know, that's not steam. That's.
And that comes out of that lower
Yes.
Kiln.
kiln. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, yes.
If you, I mean, I'm not an expert on anything, but if you sit there long enough, you'll see it happen. And then it'll happen again. I don't know what it, I'm guessing that it gets to a certain point and it has to let that out or something. I don't know. It's still happening. It's still happening across All-Star. You couldn't even see where I was sitting, you couldn't even see the railroad track because there was so much of it in there. I don't know, can't get back to it right now, but it's bad. I want you all to see that by the time I'm not calling the cops anymore because I don't think it does any good and I think they think I'm harassing them.
That, excuse me, just a couple more questions for you. That smoke that billows out, is that the pungent odor that you're smelling? You're not doing the one that's coming, like the vapor that comes out?
Now, there is smell both when there's...
Both ways?
Yes. And in fact, I've seen it where you could barely see anything come out.
Yes, ma'am.
But it still smells horrific. In fact, this morning in my house, when I walked out to walk my dog, the first thing is out the back door, around my face. And I get around the corner with my little dog and look over there, and I don't see
You don't
smoke
see
or
anything, but you
steam.
did smell something?
Yes, sir. Strong.
I see. Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
I'll be happy to email this video to all of you too, if you want to get a better look at it. And maybe you can put it on your website with that Sigma letter, it seems fair too. Yeah. I need to sign something to release it, I'm happy to do that.
Did the police go out to that Monday morning?
Yes, twice.
Twice? And what did they,
The officers took report, they put in the camera footage, and the report what it was, to be honest with
was it a citation or anything?
you.
No.
Well, all citations go through code.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
So, I have a question as well, because I did go out there, myself. So, there was no fire truck called,
Not to my knowledge, they'll be.
and so we're assuming there was no fire because there was no fire truck called? I mean, I'm asking.
Yes.
Because when I went out there myself, it was before 8, and there was no fire truck, so that's why I'm asking.
That's what they told me.
Okay. Mr. Curtis?
Madam Mayor
Yes, sir.
and Mr. Cornyn, I am really impressed that you took the time to go by there. Did you see or did you smell any odor when you went?
Yes, I did.
What was that odor like? Was it just like perfume or what?
No, it's actually the way I referred to it, even when I got home to my husband. Behind me, they put chicken litter on the hay fields behind my house, and that's what it smelled like to me.
That's all. Nothing worse than chicken litter on the farm.
Well, I mean, it was heated, so I would, when I went there, I got out and I walked up to, you know, when you drive into that parking lot where it looks like the, you know, where the kiln thing sits over here.
Right.
Because I wanted to be aware that every time I knew about it or I was notified, I thought, okay, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to get out of my car, and I'm going to see, I wanted to see what it's like.
It was no more noxious to you than that litter on a farm.
There's pretty bad times when they put that litter on that farm. I'm like, hey, man. But I also I got out of the car. I didn't leave in 5 minutes. I got out of the car. I talked to the people in the plant. I wasn't running for my car. I never got sick. I'm just telling you my experience.
Right, that's all
I
I'm
know
looking
everyone
for.
else has different experiences.
Thank you.
But I got out, I walked around, I stayed out there, and because I thought, well, I don't know how long it takes. I wanted to see, will I get sick? Will I get the headaches? Will I get the, you know, everything everyone has been stating. I wanted to see if it would happen to me. And I have to say it didn't.
Thank you.
Now, I do know there is an odor, and I was right up there. But I'm just telling you my experience, because I wanted to go out there. I wanted to, because a lot of people said, have you been out there? Have you witnessed it yourself? And so my whole agenda this past week has, every time I knew, especially if I knew the police were called, I went out there as well. I wanted to see, because I figured if the police were called, that's when it had to be really bad.
Thank you.
I know one day the police were called 3 different times. And that's the day I went out there and I stood and I got out of my car. I did not sit in my car with the windows rolled up. I got out of my car and I walked around. What was falling on my head was water. Now, I don't know if there's times that other stuff, I'm telling you what happened when I went. And I did go on multiple days, on multiple times. I'm not discrediting anyone, but I'm just telling you my experience when I went.
Well, thank you. Mr. Cornyn, when you went out there, was everything just natural to you, or did you have any odors that you sensed?
I live close to the plant. I live at I guess, on Circle Drive, which is down by the church, which is probably a half mile, quarter of a mile away from the plant. When I went out to walk through the plant, I went right in there and I wanted to see the processing of what went on. And they took the pellets right out of after they've processed it and showed it to me. I did get a smell in their office. I did not get the smell outside, and I have not smelt that at my house.
Would you mind if I would call you and meet you there when it's really bad?
I wish you would, because maybe you can show me things that I'm missing.
Yes,
But
I think there's some missing.
I got out of my truck. I walked the thing similar to what the mayor had said. I went inside, introduced myself. They took me through the plant and showed me that. They showed me the people working in the plant. I got back outside and the only smell I smelled was in the office. I went back outside again and said, why would you smell it in the office and not outside? And I've driven by many, many times because I live that close to it.
May I
And have
make an
not
offer?
smelled.
Oh, and one other thing.
Sure.
I also drove around to some of the other businesses that we have not heard from, and they did not have a concern.
Okay, I have a business on 515,
Yes, sir.
several hundred yards from this plant. It just so happens to be on the southwest side of this facility.
I know where it is. I'm familiar.
My assumption is that they were looking for a plant on the northeast corner of any city that they could find so it would blow away from the city.
I see.
Our predominant winds are from the southwest. If I could get both of you's numbers,
I'd be happy.
I'd be happy to go with you and have you stand there while I'm inside the truck with the windows up and see how long you can stand it.
I would be more than happy to, sir.
Great. How
I'll be
about you,
more than
Mr.
happy to
Corner?
give you my number. I'd like to do that.
Great, thank you very much.
Could
I'm finished.
I add a
Yes, ma'am.
comment? My son and I drove out there on Sunday afternoon to see what it was like also and to see what was going on. He's a truck driver, and he has delivered ash to different fertilizer plants. When we rolled the windows down, we could feel the particles coming into the car and on our bodies. We could also smell the smell. We were there maybe 5 minutes, rolled the windows back up, and the smell stayed with us and stayed on our clothes until we were able to go home an hour later and change our clothes. Within a half an hour, both of us had a headache. I think that people do react differently,
They certainly do.
you know, and I'm not saying that people that do go out don't experience that same thing, or people that do go out experience what you're experiencing. I'm telling you that I personally went out there and that was my experience. Yes, all of us know that there's a problem. And there are many agencies now that are working to resolve that problem, including Texas partners, or Sigma partners. And it's not going to happen overnight, but it is going to happen.
I ask, you all have the absolute power to shut them down because of this. All you have to do is find whatever happened for your certificate of occupancy, which has apparently disappeared, and close it. Because they are hurting the environment. The city has a responsibility to protect its people, and you're not doing it.
I spoke with the city attorney about all this, and he said, we do not have the authority to do that because we don't have an ordinance that deals with the specifics of that situation. And he said that the best thing to do is let the state agency, TCEQ, handle it because they're the trained professionals and they've got the equipment to deal with it, which they're doing.
I'm sure the attorney knows what he's doing. If you pull the certificate of occupancy,
I told him about that.
And look at it. You don't have to tell him about it. Look at it and read it.
Okay, so
If you could provide me with a copy of that, I'd
let me
appreciate
address
it.
that. I know we've gone over your time limit, but let me address that.
Yes.
Apparently when the Sigma partners come in, or whatever, we'll say Sigma partners
Yeah.
just to keep it brief here, the WEDC waived the permit, the occupancy permit and everything.
Who did?
The WEDC.
That's the Economic Development Corporation.
So they operate over your
No,
policies?
sir. Let me finish. So when they brought that to council for approval, it was approved through the EDC. Then at that point, the council did approve that. So there is no, everybody has been told, it's no surprise, I would think, there is no occupancy permits of that kind. I'm telling you the truth.
When was that done?
That was done in 2020.
Madam Mayor, the record shows they were offered to waive the permit fees, not the permit. The EDC does not control the permits of the city. The documents of record show they waived the permit fees totaling up to $12,500, which they've not paid.
I understand
They
that.
don't have the authority to waive city permits.
I understand that. I was not in office at that time.
It doesn't matter. You are
I'm
now,
not
ma'am.
finished. I'm not finished.
I'm sorry.
But at the time, there were no permits.
Hang on 1 second. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are trying to listen to everybody. We want to hear everybody's sides. We understand there's a problem, but the under-talking and the comments from the audience demeans the meeting. We cannot clearly hear the speaker. Every speaker gets the chance to speak. We want to hear the speaker, and if you want to speak, we'll let you speak too. We want to hear you, but we want to hear you clearly so we understand the message you're giving us. Okay, so if everyone could please keep their side comments to themselves so we can hear the speaker and make sure we're understanding everybody. And if you'd like to speak, we'll let you speak. Okay? What's it?
Go ahead.
Thank you.
But it is what it is at this point. I hate to, I'm not talking about the plan. I'm talking about the permits.
Okay.
If you request them, you're going to be told there is none, because that is the truth.
If the council makes a mistake, there's never a way to correct it. Is that correct?
No, that's not so. In fact,
So-
we are asking about that with the city attorneys, and he is looking into that. But at this time, which you all know, this is not a surprise, because someone has asked for those documents, and they were told we do not have them. Now,
So there was no mistake, it just never happened. Is that correct?
I can't say, because at that time I was not involved, sir.
Okay, so if there's no certificate of occupancy, there's nothing to do away with. So they don't have an occupancy certificate. Why don't you shut them down?
Because all that was waived.
The certificate was not waived.
So we
The
have
penal-
to,
the
we have
fee
to
was.
get in touch with the city attorney, and we have been.
But you have no certificate of, I'm not argumentative.
No, I
Please.
understand, but
If you told them,
when we
Not
found
to be-
this out, now we have to address that and go forward. We get it. We understand what you're all saying, but we do not have those documents. We do not have them. There's no hiding it behind the door. I'm going to be truthful to all of you. You know anyway, because the people that have asked for the records. But now the time is what to do to correct that.
yes.
That is the phase we're in now. Is it going to be corrected tomorrow? No, sir, it won't.
If, to obtain a certificate of occupancy, somebody has to go out and inspect, is that correct?
I would have to.
In there's never been one done, they should not be operating. If it doesn't exist, they should not be operating.
If it doesn't exist, we can't close them down.
You have to give them a certificate to occupy.
It's in the hands of the attorney.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it's
it's in the hands of the attorney right now.
I'll be back next time and find out what the attorney has advised, okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank
By
you
all
for your
means,
time.
Thank you.
please. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, now we have a Mr. Woody Thornton.
We were talking about something, I mean, I live right outside.
Please state your name
About
and
a quarter mile
address.
from the plant.
Please state your name and address.
Yeah, okay, it's Woody Thornton, 1661 State Highway 11.
Okay.
At 9 o'clock Sunday morning, I couldn't get on my roof to repair a leak because of the odor and the wind.
Okay.
You talked about the odor in the offices in the meeting room. That's residual odor from being around it and then coming back
Oh, really?
in. And that's what we're living with, is
I see.
residual odor. The little steam that you see coming out was brown today at 12:45 whenever I drove by. That's not steam. It's not fire. It's the overload that kills that's feeding through the equipment. And that's what's doing that. It's
State that again
overloading the
to,
equipment to
It-
feed
it
it
is
through
what?
whenever that's coming through. It was not steam, it was something else included in the steam, which is what Miss Morris was getting as a particulate fallout
I see.
at a quarter mile from the house. And think about where the steam's at. If you look at where the steam feeds into, that's about a 35 to a 40-foot elevation. As that goes above that tank and wind picks it up, you may or may not smell it immediately in the immediate area, but you will smell it down the road when it starts settling. We have a white Honda. It looks like little droplets of caramel on it. And we just, by luck of the draw, we just happen to live in the wind direction. And we live in about the proximity that you do, just opposite side. But that's what you're seeing. That's some of the odor that you'll smell there inside the plant and not right in the immediate area. The thing that, last week whenever I was down here, they're working off an air permit. There's already 16, 18 violations that's documented through the DEQ on that permit. The permit says they got 5 days a week for 8 hours a day, but they're working, when you run here, 10 o'clock at night,
Yes, sir.
and they're working. Last night, we had a rehearsal down the road and came through, and they were pulling trucks in at 10:30. That's a 16-hour day. So they're clearly in violation. And I said it in here last week. They're thumbing their noses at the city. If you'll read the last couple of sentences in that letter that they sent, it's they chose the location, not so much because of that, because in Bogota, where they came from, they've got big chicken plants, so they could have got it out right there. They're shipping it in from around the country, and they're processing it.
Okay.
But they only had a process, their permit only called for chicken litter, not cow manure. And what the process has come from is it's not so much the manure, but if you're familiar with chicken houses at all, the big chicken houses, chickens will die. There's dead chickens, there's dead beaks, there's dead legs. And when they bring that in, and let's just face it, you can't raise, we could not raise a chicken to the weight that they need to be marketed in 8 weeks without hormones, growth hormones. Whenever they burn the growth hormones is where the problem comes from. That's where the dioxins, and that kind of comes from the growth hormones that they're burning. If they were burning strictly, the odor is not so much coming from the manure itself, but it's everything that's in that manure as it goes through the incinerator or the kiln.
So when they heat it,
Yes. They're not heating it. It's a direct impingement in the kiln. It's not like they've got a tube going through and everything in that tube is getting heated from the outside. They got direct fire. That's where the fire's coming from. It's old, antiquated equipment that they bought from Coors Brewing and Old Colorado.
I'd like to say something. I work in the chicken industry,
I'm sure.
and they don't use growth hormones in it. And that particular farm is an organic table egg laying farm. And
Yes,
so-
of course.
Huh?
We raise chickens and I can't grow one that fast.
They've been genetically crossbred over decades, and that's why they do that, because I work for a primary breeder where they would take the genetic families, see which ones achieve the best, and they, just like breeding racehorses or cows.
I believe that.
You take the best
But
of
can
each.
you tell me with some authority that every truckload that comes through there comes from one of those farms? Can you tell me?
That's my understanding, that's where it comes from. Can you tell me, can you prove that they got growth hormones in them? They don't need them in a table egg chicken.
What I know is that there's a fallout, particulate matter, there's groundwater runoff that hadn't even been addressed. They don't have any kind of groundwater permit, and it's running right down, what's the name of the road there in front of it? Anyway,
Lone Star,
yeah, Lone Star, Lone,
yeah.
70-year-old brain. Yes, but anyway, it's running right down there, right into the drainage, the sewer drain, right there at 11, going across under the road into the ditch, and right down to the next creek into the ponds. And there's residue right there now. So it's an aggravating situation.
Yeah.
And if there was one person up here, or two people up here complaining about this, I wouldn't think much of a problem. But there's a lot of people complaining about it.
Well, I understand,
A lot of people.
you know, the odor problem, yeah, that's definitely, and they're working on things to correct that now. They've ordered materials for a stack to way up in the air to get it up out of there. They've got the Sphere 3 Environmental working with them to get all these problems
They're
corrected.
designing a scrubber is what they're doing.
Yeah.
That's what Sphere 3 doing. Monday, we got cows 4 miles from the plant. Monday, 11 o'clock, 10:30, 11 o'clock Monday morning, there was particular matter falling 4 miles from the plant.
Okay.
Just carried by the wind, but it's not, and like I say, the last couple of sentences in that letter tells you they chose this location, not particularly because of the proximity of the source to burn, but because of the low population, because they knew there was going to be a problem. If you know, that's kind of reading between the lines, but that's why they chose it. Why didn't they build in Pagoda? There's not as many people up there as we do. They got less people, less population we do in Pagoda. Why didn't they build it there? Was there any money given to them from economic council or whatever from here? There's a lot of unanswered questions.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So if you are seeing this fallout,
Yeah,
did you have any of it tested?
we hadn't yet, but we're going to have to. You know, we've raised stock dogs and dogs for a long time. And what really brought my attention to it, you know, the odor was one thing. Distasteful is another. But then we started finding those particulates, and it was coming in the house. Whenever my wife would clean the fans and everything, instead of just dust, there's little beads in the fan. So that, you know, that was one of the first things. Then we lost a complete litter of puppies. You lose a puppy every now and then. That's just nature. But you don't lose a whole litter of deformed puppies.
Did you have one of those tested?
No, because at that particular time I didn't relate to, but we got 3 due now, and every one of them's already had a blood test. So we can, if we need to have that baseline, we'll have that, and then if there's some proof, we'll do that. And I know I've gone too long, but you know, and like I said, I don't particularly want the plant to shut down. I want them to work within the permit and do it like.
Oh, we understand, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Scotty, would you mind stepping up to the? Sure. We have a couple questions.
Scotty, I'm reading the ordinance right now on the industrial district regulations.
Yes, sir.
And it's the same ordinance I've read and reread and read again and read again. It says basically under permitted uses, the following uses are permitted in the I district, provide such manufacturing or industrial operation shall not disseminate dust, fumes, gas, noxious odor, smoke, glare, or other atmospheric influence beyond the boundaries of the property. In addition, such use shall produce no noise exceeding in intensity, yada, yada, and
Right.
gives all the legalese there. Under 7, I'm looking at section 19 of the zoning ordinance under Exhibit B. 19.2, section 7, manufacturing process, which I'm assume Sigma would fall under because they're manufacturing. Yeah, we'll call it that. All of the facilities for the manufacturing, fabrication, processing, or assembly of products, provided that such facilities are not detrimental to public health, safety, or general welfare, and provided that the following performance and standards and C ordinances are met. A, smoke. No operation shall be conducted unless it conforms to the standards established by state health rules and regulations pertaining to smoke emissions. B, particulate matter. No operation shall be conducted unless it conforms to the standards established by state health rules and regulations pertaining to emission of particulate matter. C, dust, odor, gas, fumes, glare, or vibration. No emission of these matters shall result in a concentration at or beyond the property line which is detrimental to public health, safety, or general welfare, or which causes injury or damage to property, or as said emission conforms to the standards established by the state health rules and regulations pertaining to said emissions. Reading this ordinance, and tell me if I'm wrong or if I'm misinterpreting it, because obviously I'm not the code enforcement officer. I see a couple of violations of the ordinance right there. We have a council member who has seen the particulate matter. I've driven out there multiple times. I see the smoke. I see the emissions. I have smelled the smell. So I'm not discrediting anybody that there's something out there. I don't know what's going on.
Norma, the only thing I have found when I go out there, which I usually go 3 times a day, I find steam, which does have molasses in it. That's a smell that I smell every time I go. They are mixing molasses with everything out there. I think that is where the brown color is coming from, is the molasses. Molasses is brown. You walk up to that front door and I smell feed mill.
Yeah.
It smells just, walk up to Valley Feed Mill. That's the same smell I smell. Okay? Have I smelled chicken litter? Yes, I have. Faintly, I've smelled it coming outside the building here months ago. A couple of months ago, maybe.
The main thing is you've been out there. You've been through the
Yes.
plant. You're
Yes,
yeah.
that steam billowing out them front doors is just that, steam. The same stuff that is when you take a shower and you steam up your bathroom window. Okay, if there's some particulate matter somewhere, it has not come to me. I can't find it. It is not falling in my windows when I drive by. It's not falling in my head. It's not laying on the ground when I go look. Okay? That's what I'm looking for.
I could tell you that it was hitting the side of my face, the particles from the steam.
Water.
It was hitting the side of my face. I could feel it.
I could see that from the video from the officers going out there. I can see that hitting their windshield when they pull up there. Water.
Thank you, Scott.
That's where I'm at right now.
Yes, sir.
And trust me, every one of these are getting looked into.
Yeah. And have you had any conversations with the city attorney?
As have you.
Uh-huh.
Yes, same conversation I had with
Yeah.
you were there.
Okay.
That's the conversation I had.
Okay.
Mr. Andy, could you just... Okay, so I know multiple times that the police department has been called out because I tried to go out every time they do, so I know how many times they've been called out and more than what I went out there. So at any time, did any of your officers go inside the plant and look around?
I don't know that they went inside. They looked around. They had their body cameras on. They had their dash cameras on. When they called me in the middle of the night, they said it was steam.
So also, I'm asking, because I'm just curious, if they went in the plant and looked around, I just was curious to see, because I did not, any barrels of chemicals, anything of that sort, other than molasses that was added to the litter.
And I don't believe they put it in the report.
I can tell you, I looked at their videos, the ones that had audio and stuff going at the time went in there. A couple of them did, and they could see the water droplets from the ceiling from the steam coming up and causing it to have dripping water. from the ceiling. That's the only thing that was noted.
When they originally went out, it was told to me, when the original call came in, that there was some type of smoke or something coming out. And when the officer got there, they said it was steam, and they called me back and told me that it was just steam. And I told them to document it, do the report, make sure they got their cameras on and video everything, and then turn it in to Scott.
So, at any time was the fire department called out?
Not during these calls, no.
So there was no fire?
No fire.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to say that I actually called in and did what the city council told us to do the last
Name-
time.
name and address.
Melissa Laurent, 1530 State Highway 11. I profusely apologized to the dispatcher or whoever answered the phone and said, I'm so sorry to have to do this, but this is what we're told to do. I'm there, it's bellowing out smoke, blah, blah, blah. On 2 occasions, I actually spoke to the officer that came out. One, as he drove past my vehicle, I kind of flagged him down, and I said, I'm not calling about that steam coming out right now. I'm calling about this smoke going all the way around and across the highway. And I said, see it moving across? Because you could see it, because the lights would reflect off of it, and you could see it go across. I said, that's not steam. Steam goes up. That is smoke. Pointed out to him. The other officer that I spoke to asked me, are you going to sit here all day and call every time you see smoke coming out of there? I said, I don't know what else to do.
Janet Gale Willis, 1268 County Road 4470, Winnsboro. Thank y'all for going out, each one of you, and your expertise. My question is for the police officers when they get called out to enforce a code ordinance. They give an opinion of what they think it is, steam or smoke. Do they have a background? Did they take air samples? Do we really know definitively what was in it? Did they take air samples, or is it an opinion? Okay, let that stand for the record that
Okay,
we've
but
not.
also, Ms. Willis,
Yes, ma'am?
when someone calls in, is that a fact? Are they professionals, or is that an opinion?
It's an opinion. It is. And that's why I would like to request the city, who's the only entity can, or the fire department or the county, is the only government entity that can request the air monitoring equipment through the TCEQ for the EPA. There is an EPA case standing on this. They deferred to the CEQ. And you said we were going to wait on their process. Well, they closed the regional process and went to a higher level. Your own ordinance says you will enforce state agency. The state agency said it was particulate matter. The state agency confirmed it was beyond the boundaries of the property, which violates your city ordinance.
And has the state agency fined Signal Partners?
They are doing an enforcement action. Ms. Wu is working on the fines and administrative penalties, but they said, we can't revoke the occupancy permit. We didn't allow them to come in. It's no less. That's right, and you could too, and they could go out and cite them for anything beyond the boundaries of the property. There's not been one citation. The problem's been going on 4 months. And not one has there been any citations by this police department?
I'm not aware, no.
Can you ask the police chief?
Mr. Andy?
I'm unaware of.
Thank you.
Any further comment? Anyone? Yes, sir. Please state your name and address. Everybody forgets, that's why we say it.
Ryan Murphy, 3682 State Highway 11. On Monday, what Woody was talking about, I live 3 or 4 miles away, same thing. Whatever that was, whatever that is, it reaches my house. That's 15 to 20,000 feet away. That's ridiculous. That's 3 or 4 miles. I end up throwing up outside. Why? Because of whatever's in it. Whatever it is, it's not just steam. Whatever it is, it's causing an issue. I'm 28 years old. Don't have any health issues. I get it. I get it at my house. It's happened multiple times. I throw up.
Okay, when you say you get it, is it the smoke, the...
It's something, there's been times, especially because it's so far away, we get, especially when it catches on fire, we get a haze over our property. We have 30 acres there and it covers the whole thing. What is it? Why is that happening? That's not steam. I don't care what anybody says. I'm sorry, but That is not steam, that is not healthy, and it's making me sick. I've had a cough since Monday. 28 years old, have zero health issues. I just want to know why.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I would like to say one more thing.
Okay.
Melissa Laurent, 1530 State Highway 11. I would like to say that the TCEQ report did identify that as smoke, not steam.
And Ms. Laurent, we appreciate you saying that. That does not, is that every time?
Multiple occasions in the report.
Or was it every single time?
I'm not talking about every time, it's sizable on the times it is quoted.
Well, that's okay.
I showed you the video where it was smoke, and the police were called, but they said it was steam. I have a master's degree in biology, I think I know the difference.
So have you tested any of the product? Have you tested the?
I don't have a lab at my house.
All right, anybody else? Because we're fixing to wrap this up, so go ahead.
What's your words, Deb?
Jim Woodrat, 1530 Highway 11. Okay, you can't do anything about the occupancy permit, but they were permitted to run 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. Sunday morning, they were running when I went to church. Sunday evening, when I went to bed, it was still running. Today, I got up at 7:30, 8 o'clock to go check cows and feed cows. It was running. We left at 5:15 to come here. 8 o'clock to 5:15 is more than 8 hours. So why don't you do something about that?
TCEQ deal. Whoever issued the permits is the one that enforces that.
You can't.
Yeah, we're fixing to start sticking to the 3 minutes, so, yes, sir, go ahead. Oh, no, that's not, go ahead.
There's a 16-minute video.
And what did the fire department say when they came out?
Fire department never came.
Did y'all call them?
I don't see no sense in wasting everybody's
So
time.
we don't know if that's smoke or steam. No fire department.
If you will look across this and watch it settle, steam doesn't settle.
I'm just asking, sir.
And then you know, it's marsh.
I've been there as well.
I mean,
I've been out,
Thank
and that's
you.
where I guess I am having a, I'm not denying what anyone's saying. I am not, because I understand.
But I think the community is feeling the undercurrent.
But I went out there. I wanted to see it.
Well, you can't, whenever they first opened up, it was a weekly and almost a bi-daily thing. And this it has improved, but not to the point where it's not there. And it continues to be there. And I've worked in a plant for a long time, and I certainly know the difference between steam and particulate matter.
Thank you.
But there is beginning to sound like there's an undercurrent here, folks.
Yes.
Brady 3406 Nichols Street. I appreciate y'all looking into this. I appreciate the police. One suggestion I would make is to actually have our fire department folks go out there. They are professionals and they do know what smoke is. So I think if, the chief could go out with them when they're doing one of these assessments, because we've seen it and it's smoky, but it's not all the time. So it's very likely you've gone there, you haven't noticed the odor because it does go up and it vents over and it's coming into someone's yard or kind of a distance. Many times it's not actually right there at their facility. The smoke as well. None of us are experts, but I think the fire department would be a good resource to assess that.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, sir.
Didn't plan to speak, but just on the topic about
Name and address, please.
Billy Barrett, 3749 County Road 2426, and work at Vintage and Vines. So as far as testing because you're saying it's steam, so it's just water vapor, steam, there's nothing harmful, and asking, well, did you test what was on your car? These tests are not cheap. So I was very, very sick. I looked into it. Dioxins being one of the top things that could be released from poultry waste getting heated, incinerated. So the main pollutants: carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxide, particulate matter, sulfuric acid, hydrochloric acid, volatile organic compounds, dioxin, and arsenic. You were speaking, it's a organic farm, so I don't know what they're fed, but I know a lot of chicken feed contains arsenic, and it comes out in their litter. So basically, all the factors, the bedding that gets mixed in with the litter, all of it combined, even if they're not adding chemicals, it all combines together, and it's then that combination, when heated, that produces the toxins. If it's just sitting there, it doesn't have these toxins in it. And then all of these toxins, most are odorless, colorless, so you're not going to smell them, you're not going to see them, the worst ones. And they can cause respiratory disease, cardiovascular, cancer, other illnesses. So again, I've talked on this before, but just wanted to reiterate, it could be, especially dioxin, over the entire city. I wanted to get dioxin testing done because it's one of the worst. I looked into a company, $20,000. Well, my family doesn't have $20,000 to go test it. And no government agency is going to test it for us. I looked at getting blood work done to test for dioxin in my body. It was going to be a $3,000 blood test. I don't have $3,000 to go get a blood test. So yes, we want to know, and yes, we would love to test all of this, but we don't have the money to. We didn't let them here. We've been here living our nice country life. Now people are suffering, and maybe you think it's water vapor. We live there, we're there every day, we're working there every day. We definitely know what smoke is. Thank you.
Chanagale Willis, $6,253. January 5th, hospital visit, pancreatitis, urinary tract infection. After my exposure December 7th, and the doctor on the 10th of December, and the doctor 4 times. Today they're ordering more work because I have blood in my urine. I'm not getting any better. And I am going to a pulmonary doctor for documentation. These documents I have from the Secretary of State for Texas Sigma Partners that I downloaded. When he first began in January of 2020, it was filed with Ryan Hawkins as being the managing partner. After he presented his documents for the Texas Department of Agricultural Community Block Grant, on the city documents it said it was going to be signed by Ryan Hawkins and the City of Winnsboro, Craig Lindholm, City Administrator. After that, he removed himself, according to the Secretary of State, as managing partner and had 2 companies file as managing partners. Are you familiar with American Terminal and Export Company out of Houston? They are one of the managing partners. Another company is called Hawk Litter. And here I have an assumed name certificate for Hawk Litter that is Hawk Organics, owned by Ryan Hawkins out of Bogota. All the addresses with the Secretary of State goes back to Ryan Hawkins, Seth Hawkins, Christian Hawkins in Bogota, as well as the managing members that are now out of Houston. So the ownership of the company has shifted when they file for the managing partners. I have the names of their lenders as filed with Wood County Clerk's Office of a $6.9 million loan and 1.7. They're at the county courthouse.
Chanagale, so let me make sure I understand what you're saying. From the time that they started in 2020 with the previous council, previous administration, previous everything, they were under one name.
Yes, sir.
And apparently when the certificate of occupancy was waived, they were under one name.
Right, and they're
But
still
now-
Texas
but
Sigma.
hang on. But they've changed ownership?
What you do with the state when you file a public information report.
Oh, I know. I file them all the time.
You have to file who your managing directors are. They remove the managing directors out of individual names, Seth Hawkins and his brother or son or something, into company names. One company is owned by the Hawkins, out of Bogota. The other company is called Hawk Litter Services, and the other company that's a managing director is out of Houston, and it is called,
So what you're saying is,
American Terminal.
in the first public information report, it was Ryan Hawkins, managing member. Now they show a change of ownership, be it from a person to a company. There's been a change in ownership, according to the Secretary of State, according to public filings.
According to public filings, the managing directors have changed and the registered agent has changed. But the Hawkins are still, they're layered protection now under their companies
Right.
and not as individuals.
But now they're not listed as owners and managing partners. Another company is, which brings me to my next point. Certificates of occupancy shall be required for any of the following: change in ownership.
Here's all the Secretary of State documents I pulled. It cost me $14. There's some junk in here too. I will give it to the city secretary to enter into the record. You can pull them up yourself as well. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Now we're going to move to number 4, questions and statements from the media.
Good evening. My name is Chuck Roy. I live at Lakeport. Currently, what I'm here to do is to ask and hopefully get some answers. My position as the new owner of the Winnsboro newspaper, as well as the managing director of Verity Ventures, a corporation that owns 9 other companies in the state of Texas. Our position here is that we believe very strongly in the city leadership. What I see here tonight is slightly embarrassing. This lady, a civilian, come out of the audience better prepared to present an argument than y'all are prepared to hear it. My suggestion to you, and I am a registered professional electrical engineer. I spent 35 years starting up plants. I understand the complications, the challenges, and some of the remedial actions that have been necessary on every continent of the globe, including Antarctica. So my comment to you is not from a neophyte or a beginner. My suggestion is to take ownership of this problem. Become a champion for your city. Stand tall and be ready to answer questions like this woman has answered or asked. I haven't heard answers from any of y'all yet. I'd like to give you the opportunity to do such, because these people have a right to have a safe and comfortable environment. Now, having said that, my wife and I believe so strongly in this being a good place to live, we are selling our home on Lake Fork, a $1 million home, and we're moving to Winnsboro. Last week we bought a home here in Winnsboro because we believe that to be a community newspaper, we've got to be a part of that community. It's our boots on the ground, and that's our commitment to you. The Winnsboro newspaper has had some difficult times. We will not shy away from that. But I promise you, with the quality of people that come to pass, that come through our front door, who write for our newspaper and show their names as a byline, these are quality people who have one motive in mind, and that's to make this area the best that they can be. As the editor of the Community Chronicle, we circulate in 39 cities and 11 counties. We understand what goes on. I speak to city councils, to civic groups all the time. And of those people that I have had opportunities to visit with on a personal and a professional basis, there are 2 cities that are really stand head and shoulders in the other 39 cities that we serve: Lindale and Winnsboro. Okay. Be better. Be better than you are. You're already on the top of the totem pole as far as we can tell. We're making a personal decision to be here. This is where we live. This is our home. And I want you guys to do a better job of protecting our home. We want to help you. We want to encourage you. We want to be the best friend. We want to carry the banner of who and what we are here in Northeast Texas, in particular in this pearl of the necklace that is Northeast Texas. We choose to live here. It's not because we inherited a dairy. It's not because we couldn't make it through college. It's not a fallback position for us. This is a decision for us. My wife Nancy and I have a cumulative, I think, 5 college degrees, masters in business administration and advanced degrees. We can live anywhere we want. I want you to appreciate the fact that we appreciate what you do, and we understand this is our home. We would ask you to stand tall and champion what these people have to say. I've been out there. Boys and girls, it stinks. Fix it. Give these people the opportunity to bring in professionals. Solutions are not simple, but neither is the discourse that we saw tonight. That's painful. Listen to what they say. Bring in all the resources and champion this cause. You represent the best that we've got. Make it better. Okay? I do have a couple of other topics I want to touch on. I really didn't mean to go into that dialogue much degree. I am very disappointed to share with you that my editor has had to step down. Health reasons. Jim Rogers is the best friend I've ever had. 50 years in the pulpit. He has been 35 years as an editor in all forms of journalism, broadcast, radio, and the written word. We came to a very difficult decision this week that he has to step down for health reasons. He's 71 years old, and he feels he's got a whole lot more miles than a normal 71-year-old person would have. So that's my disappointment. But because we are coming here, I want to make an investment in our city, and I want to gift to you an opportunity that you participated in last year. The Patriot Sporting Challenge is something that we brought to this, the opportunity to our area 6 years ago. And maybe you watched a football game in December where you watched us on ESPN represent Northeast Texas when we made a $300,000 donation to the Folds of Honor. We do this with a very unique product. We have the world's only format where we shoot, we fish, and play golf in 3 simultaneous tournaments. Okay? Your chief of police received an honor last year. We delivered, Andy, did you get second place or first place? First place. I should have guessed that. But for golf. So what we would like to do is...
I've seen him shoot, so...
That didn't help me at all. You would think that the police would be outstanding.
Well, he was my instructor in the academy, so I've seen him shoot. It's okay.
All right, that's a red herring there. What we would like to do as a new member of what I hope to be a leading factor in the success of our community, as the owner, the publisher, and now editor of the Winnsboro News, we would like to gift the city $2,000 as your entry fee to participate in the 6th annual Patriot Sporting Challenge that'll be held over at the Links at Land's End, at Lake Fork, in the Texas Gun Ranch, with our gala at the Sulphur Springs Civic Center on April the 9th. Now, I have invited Mount Vernon and the city of Sulphur Springs, and I will invite you. If you win, and that is not an insignificant task, I will donate $10,000 to the charity of your choice. That's a challenge, and that is not to be taken lightly. You're going to have to be pretty darn good at what you do.
Andy, we're going to the shooting range.
Okay? I would suggest now would be a good time to do such. April the 9th, and I'll give you all the details of doing this. It's a 4-man team that participates in those sports. Shooting is not for the weak of heart. It's a 3-gun competition. You'll shoot rifles, pistols, and shotguns. And you better be good at all of them. Okay? Or either really lucky at golf. We are so excited to be new residents of Winnsboro. We expect to be here on location, give or take May 1. A lot of things have to happen between now and then. But we're here every day. We occupy the building that has been the home of the Winnsboro News. I don't know if you appreciate this or not. The Winnsboro News is a 115-year-old company. I didn't know that. And I feel now about that age myself. We are going to challenge our area to be better than they are. We're going to ask you to be as good as you can be. Become champions for the advancement of our community. Do the job that you're elected to do. And we want to help you all we can. Okay, we'll be there to support you. We are not adversaries. We will never be adversarial. That's another continent away from us. We want to help you promote, support, and make this the kind of hometowns we can be proud of. Okay. Our offices are always open. Call upon us anytime. We see so many other newsprint organizations continue to shrink, to become non-relevant. They have, in my humble opinion, are still beating that same old horse. So many other medias are interested in if it bleeds, it leads. That is foolishness. We want to highlight the very best of what we have. We talk about things that are important to us. We talk about God. Excuse me. We talk about God. We talk about country. We talk about family. We believe that the basic core principles of honor, courage, commitment, and service are actionable items. We don't say that lightly. We will never do anything to dishonor you, ourselves, or our city, or our community that we're dedicated to serve. Just like y'all, we took an oath. It's an oath that we take very seriously and that we will execute for as long as we're here. If you have any questions of me or my wife or one of my staff members who will be covering this opportunity each week or each session, we invite y'all to come visit with us. We call ourselves not watchdogs. We're kind of more like basset hounds. We want to be your best friend. We want to welcome you home. We want to be part of the family. But make no mistake, even a basset hound, when faced with a circumstance or a stranger, will bite. That is not a threat. That's just a position. Okay? Join us. We like to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You gave him 6 minutes.
I gave y'all 2 hours. At this time, the meeting is adjourned. The next regular city council meeting will be held on March 8th. Is that right? Which will be on the second Tuesday of the month at 5:30 p.m. Once again, anyone who wants to be present in business to the council at that meeting must submit a completed request and place on the agenda to the city secretary by 12 p.m. on Monday, 8 days prior to this meeting. This meeting of the Winnsboro City Council is now adjourned at 6:54.